Okay, so we know that Betsy DeVos is an absolute disaster, but it turns out she's a disaster for more reasons than we thought, right, bro?
Absolutely, yeah. So everyone knows she testified before a House Appropriations Subcommittee on Trump's 2020 budget, specifically for her department. Many topics came up. A lot of you, and rightfully so, have been talking about the Special Olympics cuts because that was horrible. I think that's a good word for it. But something else happened is deplorable. Yes, exactly. Something else happened that John kind of alluded to that I think we were both surprised. A lot of people weren't talking about.
I hadn't heard about it until you talked about it.
Right, and so now here's the thing. You may already know the Trump administration rescinded Obama-era guidance that was set out to attempt to make sure schools didn't unfairly discipline Black students. In DeVos' school safety report from earlier this year explaining the decision to do that, she cited a study that is concerning at best, racist at worst and most accurate. Congresswoman Catherine Clark, though, kind of held her to that citing of that study and tried to get her to answer to it. I want you to watch this.
This report says, studies suggest that school disciplinary rates may reflect the problematic behaviors of Black youth. Problem behaviors that are imported into schools and into classrooms. They go on to say, difference in rates of suspensions between racial groups appear to be a function of differences in problem behaviors that emerge early in life, remain relatively stable over time, and then materialize in the classroom. And this report that you've cited and based as your theory concludes by saying, the association between school suspensions and Blacks and whites reflects long-standing behavioral differences between youth. That's the research that you have cited in your report in concluding that apparently that it is not racial discrimination and discipline, but there are some characteristics of Black children that from this report start very early in life, well before they get to the classroom.
Yeah, so that is real life. The Education Secretary of the United States of America actually cited a report that implies that Black students, people are like inherently problematic from birth. And I imagine you're wondering what DeVos had to say to that. Well, not much, but we have some of it for you.
That's why we now think they may not be motivated by race. Black children are just plain old more disruptive in the classroom. How did you come to that conclusion?
Children should never, ever be discriminated against.
Well, I hope you take those words to heart and
differently
repeal your citing of this research.
Children should never be discriminated against, but the facts are Black boys are 3 times more likely to be suspended than white boys of the same age for the same infractions, and little Black girls are 6 times more likely to be suspended. So the reason that Obama, his administration put these guidelines into place is because there was a problem and they're trying to fix it. And so now DeVos and Trump are, walking back just the idea of that problem and saying, no, it's not about racism. It's about the Black kids. They're just a problem. So later on, Congresswoman Clark actually went on MSNBC and she is now calling for DeVos to resign. Take a look at this.
The researcher that she quoted has said nothing else we can do is going to change this. Head Start's not a good investment. The school to prison pipeline, we shouldn't be worried about that because Black people and Black children are just inherently more violent and more prone to crime. This is for an administration whose hallmark is racist and outrageous policies. This really does stand out to me as something that we can't just say it's another day in the Trump administration. We have to stand up for children in this country.
Well, look, I guess it doesn't take much to have Betsy DeVos be speechless compared to some other people, but she was largely unable to answer that in the video clip that we saw. Representative Clark's line of questioning was great. Her media appearances since then have been great. Yeah, Betsy DeVos definitely seems like of all the, like Stephen Moore he is an ideologue. He hates anyone who's not, like white, waspy American. And but he thinks about how much he hates him so much that if you ask him questions, he can come up with something. He'll look ridiculous doing it. But she just wants to be at a yacht party.
But she's
like she really just wants to be at a fancy party, and instead she has to like push this, in DC or whatever. But the effect is terrible. Like, who watching this video thinks that black girls are 6 times more disruptive? Like, you have to believe that if you are to believe that it has nothing to do with implicit racism in the teachers or the I don't know if there's HR or whatever, or the principals of these schools. And she doesn't want to defend that, which is why she didn't address the substance of the comment when she talked. She just said discrimination is bad, while pushing for a policy or a rules change that is inherently discriminatory.
And there were so many things in the report that were just absolutely ridiculous. Like, one of the reasons they wanted to rescind these basically protections for little kids who are discriminated against was because she said that teachers were worried that they would have to bring in quotas and to make sure that they were punishing the white kids at the same rate as they were punishing the black kids.
Well, she should be punishing them at the
it's
same
like,
rate.
right, that's the whole point of this. But she kind of twisted that to mean, no, the black kids are just gonna be really, really bad. And so the teachers were worried that they're gonna have to start unfairly punishing white kids.
Yeah, I have a
feeling in real life.
Yeah, and in practice, that's not how it's gonna work.
Right.
What they're gonna do is they're gonna have some little program that sits the teachers down for 90 minutes maximum and says, hey, you might not be aware of this, but people do judge different groups differently without realizing it. So when deciding whether to discipline and how much discipline, try to bear in mind, how have you acted in past situations where the kid might have looked a little bit different? And try to be just. Don't just cruise through your day assuming that you're not being affected by any sort of implicit beliefs. That's what it would do in practice.
We all are different, and you have to check yourself on it every single day and every single moment, and especially when you are a person in charge of the growth of little kids and also what you do to these kids. You're teaching these other kids, and that's why people like Mike Brown looked like the big bad boogeyman. Tamir Rice, he was 12. He was one of the kids that we're talking about here. You know what I mean? Why they seem scary. It happens in the workplace disproportionately. Once you're adults, and the fact that when we're talking about 6-year-olds, the education secretary, who's supposed to protect all of our kids, is kind of like defending the practice.
Yeah, and she deserves a lot more criticism for this. I understand people are attacking her on the Special Olympics and everything, but yeah, there are people pushing for her to step down. I think that would be great for a million different reasons, but this is a reminder of yet another.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.